And welcome back, everybody, to the Frictionless Sales Podcast, where we talk to entrepreneurs, business owners, and sales professionals of all type to talk about what they do in their business and how they reduce friction in their business processes, their sales processes, and ultimately their lives, period. So today we got a good friend and colleague of mine. We got Will Brooks, actor, creative director for LaDupley Entertainment. You got some funny stuff. He's been doing podcasting for a long time, way longer than I have. So this is going to be funny. Will, how's it going, man?
It's good, dude. I'm glad you're doing this. Excited to be a part of your podcast, man. Yeah, we've been producing podcasts for I guess over 3 years now. At this point, we started
Mhm.
with Armando's show, Spaghetti on the Wall, but we've got I think we have 6 podcasts that we're producing that are like in our network for clients. So yeah, we're kind of old hat at the podcast production game. So we've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I like it actually. There's a new one that you guys are doing. Podcast for Profit or Partnerships for Profit, I think is a
Yep.
new one. I actually hosted that one yesterday with one of the people as a digital marketing agency up in Vancouver.
Yeah, Armando was telling me about that. Yeah, we're gonna have like a rotating roster of hosts, including you. I'm probably going to do a few of them as well. And yeah, it's just kind of, we've got a lot of people that want to. Armando's podcast is really successful. It's going really
Yeah.
well. It's like top 10% in I guess podcasts in general. And so we have a lot of folks who want to come on, and he's one person, can't interview everybody.
Right.
And so we've kind of branched out to create this second podcast that's kind of in the same vein as Spaghetti on the Wall, and that's going to allow us to give more people a platform to talk about what they do, who they are, how they help people, that kind of thing. So excited
Mhm.
about it. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, Spaghetti on the Wall. I think you're probably by now over 200 episodes published, right? Or at least
Yes,
recorded.
I think we're closing in on, if we're not at 200, we're closing in on 200. I think what came out last week was episode 193. So yeah, 200's coming up in a couple of months here. We've got like 230 in the bank, but we'll be releasing the 200th episode in a couple of months. Yeah.
Right on. I love this thing because I'm actually, Armando's been talking to me about it for several months, and especially for the whole purpose of, my show. I definitely doing podcasting is reducing friction in like the front end of the sale. One,
Heck
you're either
yeah.
finding out who's either building up the rapport for somebody who you may sell to, or even what happens more often is kind of creating relationships for joint venture partnerships or referral partnerships.
Yeah,
Do you do a specific podcast?
what's that?
I said, do you do a podcast? Like, do you have a separate one in the network?
I have, I'm working on starting one. We haven't, I've kind of put the basics of it together. We haven't actually started recording episodes for it yet. It's called the biopic. I'm a
Ooh.
big film buff. I love
Mhm.
movies. It's a big part of what we do at Leduc Entertainment. And the concept for the podcast is I want to talk to people, same vein as what you're talking about. We do a Spaghetti on the Wall, people people in business, entrepreneurs, that kind of thing. But I want to the idea is to kind of interview them and to kind of work out you know what an elevator pitch is?
Yeah.
So we're going to work out like an elevator pitch for the movie of their life, right? So I'm going to talk to them about who they are, kind of their journey to where they've gotten in their life, and then we'll talk about what their favorite movie is, what their favorite genre of film is, and then we'll kind of take that and we're going to take that information, and while they're on the show, I'm going to break down and kind of figure out, okay, this is the movie of your life, this is the genre, this is who's going to play you, and this is the elevator pitch for your movie. So by the time they get done, we've kind of outlined their biopic, the movie about their life. That's kind of the concept of the show.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so you're in Atlanta still, right? I heard
Yep.
about this, I don't know, some chemical plant had a big fire or something.
Yeah, it's a
This
little it's east of where I live, but yeah, it's a chlorine gas. And their messages going out yesterday like, "Oh, the air is fine. Don't worry about it." And no thanks. I mean, we're far enough away where it's not going to affect us, but yeah, it's bad. And we just had the hurricane that came through a couple of days ago as well. So
Oh,
uh
gee.
yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the Metro Atlanta area right now. It's nuts.
Has that had any effect on, new client interaction sales? I mean, I know there's only a few days since all this stuff has happened, but like whenever these wild things happen, because I mean, obviously our economy's been crazy in
Mhm.
everybody's in the last couple of years. It's election year. That's always kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you guys are dealing with that with people you've had in the pipeline, people that you're talking to? Have things
So I
slow?
can tell you, like we've got a client that we work with currently. He's actually based in Michigan, but his assistant is based not South Georgia, kind of Central Georgia, it's south of Atlanta. And she emailed me on Friday. They're trying to launch their podcast. Actually, their first episode comes out today. I'm the guest on his first episode of his podcast, and she's posting everything for him on his social media. She's distributing his podcast for him, but she's in Central Georgia, and she let me know yesterday, like, I have no power, I have no internet. I'm at a hotel outside of my city waiting to get home. I can't post anything. Can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, let's get on. As I got on a call with her yesterday, and because I'm good, I've got internet, I've got power, we're good where we are in Georgia, but she's dealing with those issues. So I was able to kind of get on the call with her, work through what she needed help with, get that taken care of. That's a big part of what we do is kind of that white glove service for our clients. That we were not going to be distributing the content for them. We do that for some of our clients, but we weren't going to be doing that for him. For them, they were going to do it themselves, but they're up against it, right? There's natural disasters happen. That's what we're here for. We're going to help out. So, that's an issue that she was dealing with. She's still without power. And she's not even sure what's going on with her house, but, she's got way bigger things to worry about than whether or not something's going to get posted on social media. So if I can take 15 or 20 minutes and make that happen for her, all good.
Tell me nowadays, like what are some of the ways that I've done some work with you guys. What are some ways that you kind of get people out of their own way? I've noticed that, when it comes down to PR, advertising, social media, there's a lot of people that do it. There's a lot of people who know they need to do it, and there's a
Right.
lot of excuses on why they won't or why they won't invest. What are some of the things that you run into?
So what we
Well,
hear a lot of times is, the big thing we hear is, why would anybody care what I have to say?
mm,
I'm a personal injury lawyer, or I'm an electrician, or whatever their business is. We hear a lot. Why would anybody want to hear what I have to say? Nobody's going to care. And my answer to that question is that's not true. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something to say. Everybody's got something of value to give. And so we let people know that, and part of what I do in the business is a lot of the development end of things, it's a lot of that relationship building that a podcast does as well. But I spend a lot of time with our clients one on one, just kind of digging on who they are and kind of what lights them up. What gets you excited beyond your business? Obviously, your business and being a business owner is something that's super important to you and that lights you up. But what else lights you up? And let's find that connective tissue between what you do as an entrepreneur and then kind of what some of your passions are. They're definitely going to intersect, and that's kind of where we kind of find a podcast for them. That's kind of where we find what the content is going to be about. And give you an example, there's a guy we're working with. He's in Connecticut. No, he's in New Hampshire. I'm sorry. He's in New Hampshire. He's a genius. Like, dude is super smart. He does automations and well, a lot of like email functionality for people. He works with businesses on that, CRM management, that kind of thing. He incorporates CRM and automations into people's customer journey, into their sales journey. He works like in Go High Level. He's a Go High Level expert. So we're working with him, and he wants to increase his client base. He's a super interesting guy. Really fun to talk with. And, we've told him, you need to start a podcast. Why does anybody want to listen to my podcast? I don't have anything to say. So I've spent about 3 hours with him over the last 3 weeks, talking about, what he does. And I was like, what do you really love about what you do? And his words were, I love to fix shit. And I said, okay, let's hit on that. And then he told me, like, beyond fixing things for people in their business, he's converted an old Coke machine into a beer refrigerator that will shoot beers out for him. He converted his lawnmower he converted his lawnmower to run on propane because he didn't want to have to go to the gas station all the time and buy gas for his lawnmower. So he's a tinkerer. He fixes stuff. So I said, okay, talking with you, and he also loves when he can get on a call with somebody and fix a problem with them on that call, like really quick. And I said, okay, so you said you like to fix shit. So here's your podcast, Fix This Shit. That's what we're going to call it. And you're going to get on calls with people that you might want to be working with, you might want to have as a referral partner. You're going to give them a list of problems that they might be having in their business. You're going to pick one before the call. You're going to get on the podcast with them, and you're going to fix a problem for them on the podcast. While they're on the podcast, when they leave, one of their problems is going to be solved. And then what you've got then is you've got the ultimate in. After you solve that problem for them, you can follow back up. Hey, is everything going well with this? You mentioned some other things that were going wrong with your business. Let's talk about what we can do to fix that. And then you've got sales going like crazy because you've already given them something. I'm huge on the giver mentality, on the give, then ask, give, then ask. If you're giving value, the ask is so much easier, I find, on the sales end of things. So that kind of digging and kind of figuring out, what is your thing? What do you love doing? And he's a great example. I think it's a fun name for a podcast. It's a good concept that I think people will enjoy watching or listening to. And it's also going to give him inroads to boost his sales and his networking capabilities by using the podcast in that way. So that's a big part of what we do when we're working with people is helping them kind of develop that and figuring out that connective tissue that can then lead into a sales pipeline after they come on the podcast. So that's I love doing that. Did that answer your question? Honestly, Jimmy, I can't remember what the question was.
I don't either. We kind of went into it. I was like, you know what? I'm drawn in. See, this is why you do what you do, because it's like, hey, this is what Will's talking about. I'm drawn in.
Yeah,
No,
man.
you
I
did.
love doing that with people, and when we find that thing that really clicks, it's just like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good show. Like this is going to be interesting. And he was totally not bought in. He was like, I don't want to do a podcast. And we got to that point, and then he was like, I can't wait. When are we getting started? Let's get some guests on. So now he's super jazzed about it and sees the value in it, and he's ready to go. So that's a part of what we do is like there is value to having a podcast. Everybody does have a story to tell. You were asking me like what do people say they don't want to, what were the things that they don't want
Oh
to
yeah,
do?
you actually did. You touched upon it and made a story with it. Because the
Yeah.
main thing you said, people say like, "Hey, I probably got nothing to say." I remember that was one. I don't know if you remember a conversation. This is probably a year ago with me and you and Armando collectively. Like why I was so slow to do it. I'm thinking I want to do my sales podcast. I'm like, dude, I've got 11 years under my belt doing this, but like I don't have the accolades. I don't have the track record that these big guys. I'm over here comparing myself to the Alex Hermosis and like
Right.
the Grant Cardones and the people that like a million people are listening to. Then I put out some stuff, and then I remember I started doing my sales content. I was just doing it on Instagram Reels,
Yeah,
and then I
I
stopped
remember.
for. I got busy doing stuff, and I had so many people I used to work with, friends in my building, whatever. Like, hey, I really liked your stuff, man. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
I was
What
like,
happened to
what?
you?
You guys were watching that shit?
And that's the thing is like you can't when you do get started on that. The problem that a lot of people have, I've done this too, is you get on a roll and you're posting and you're doing content and you're self-generating content, and maybe you don't see, maybe like you feel like no one's watching it or no one's responding to it. There are people who are seeing it and it is making an impact. And then but when you stop and then you want to start again, then you're starting from scratch all over again. So the key is being consistent with it, having a lot of volume of it, and just keeping going. And a big part of what we tell people, one of the things that we kind of liken ourselves to with regards to podcasting and content for social media is we kind of think of ourselves as kind of personal trainers, but it's more like we're content trainers. And we push people out of their comfort zone. And I think that's one of our superpowers as a company is convincing people, like is pushing them into you just got to start like what you're doing, right? You started the podcast. And you may have a bunch of listeners off the bat. You're probably not going to. No one's probably going to hear this. It doesn't matter. You're doing it, and that's the biggest thing. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get in that hosting seat. The more you're going to figure out your show. What I always tell people that we work with is, if you do this for 6 months, what your show is 6 months from now is going to be totally different than what the show is today. And that's totally okay. That's what you want. Because if you're consistent with it, you're going to figure out what you're good at and what your voice is and what you really need to be talking about with people and how you connect with people. And your show's going to evolve. Spaghetti on the Wall, Armando's show, if you go back and you watch the first episode from 3 years ago and you watch the most recent episode that just came out, they're like two completely different podcasts, for all kinds of different reasons. The format has changed a little bit. He's so much better at hosting now. That 10,000 hour rule, you know the 10,000 hour rule, right? With Malcolm Gladwell,
Yeah,
that
not
I believe wholeheartedly in that. And, so the more you do something, the more of an expert you're going to become at it, the better you're going to be at it, the more people are going to want to consume what you're putting out there. So it's just about consistency, dude. And so we push people out of their comfort zone. You just got to start. And more times than not, once they do get started, the light bulb goes off and they're like, this is great. Why haven't I been doing this all along? When can we record more? I want to do this again tomorrow. So, it's podcasting is like the new, for me, it's like, back in the day, sales, you'd be like, hey, let's go golf. Hey, let's meet up for happy hour. Now it's just like, hey, you're in your office, I'm in my office. Let's meet up for a podcast and let's just shoot the shit for 30 minutes. And then you're building a relationship. It works. So, and you're creating content for yourself and you're creating content for that other person who's coming on as a guest on your show. There's so many birds you're killing with that one stone of podcasting. I love it.
Yeah, I'm really seeing it now. And I mean, I've done a couple practice episodes. I think this is my fifth episode of this one where I really got the show down. And I'm already seeing myself get more comfortable with how it's going to come out, and seeing how the platform works. I just can't wait for There's some people I've got on a list that I'm like, I want to wait until they see it a little bit more before I ask them. And I'm already excited about it.
You're doing it the smart way. What you're doing is what we tell our clients to do is the first few episodes you do, have people that like you and I know each other. We've known each other for 2 or 3 years, and have people, I guess longer than that. We met at Armando's wedding, but but you didn't really get to know each other until a couple of years ago. But have people that on your show that you're comfortable talking with, so you don't have that awkward moment where you're trying to make a conversation happen, and that's just going to help you get better, and it's going to establish the show as a real thing. So then when you do reach out to those people that you don't know, people that maybe are a little higher up that you want to have on your show, you've got something that's established. So you're like, hey, I want you to come on my show. I'm 12 episodes in. This is what I do. This is what I talk about. Love to have you on. Just need about 30 minutes of your time. And more times than not, people are flattered to be asked to be on a podcast, whether it's Joe Rogan or whether it's a podcast no one's ever heard of. Just to be asked to be on a show, people love it. All the podcasts that we produce, getting guests is not a problem. Our clients give us a list of people that they want to have on, wish list, and people that they know, and we start working through them. And I'd say 85% of the people that we contact say, yes, I want to come on your podcast. So it's an easy ask. If you're not doing it, you're missing out. You need to get a podcast going.
I see, and it's a lot of fun. I guess finally where I want to go with, because I know that I've asked this. I talked with I did one with Renee recently. Renee Manfred.
Yep.
He's in our mastermind group, and then I want to ask you this because you guys mainly seem to work with entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners. I want to see, because a lot of my audience and who I make a lot of my content in the show for are actually people similar to me. They work within an organization. They're corporate people. Maybe they want to break out of just being an account executive or something. How do you think that they could leverage this? Sometimes, I know one selling point when you have your own business, you don't really necessarily have to forecast for a quota for someone else that you could put on yourself. Normal salespeople in an organization, they got a certain amount of time to hit a quota. They've got to do things a certain way. Could you think of any ways that content creation and podcasting or things like that could be beneficial for someone to maybe set themselves apart, make a name for themselves, or at least build better rapport with less pressure?
That's the less pressure thing is the key right there, Jim. So you ask them to be on a podcast. You're not selling them anything. You're just saying, hey, I want you to be a guest on my show. They come on, you have a 20, 30, 45-minute conversation, however long your show happens to be. No pressure, right? It's what I tell people. What I tell people is a podcast is the softest sell in the world, because you are giving them a platform. It's that giver mentality, right? You're giving. And then the beauty is, once they've come on the show, then you have a whole bunch of follow-up opportunity with those people that you might want to sell to, where you're still not at that point where you're selling to them yet. There's not, that pressure is still not there. They come on the show, right? First off, you're asking them to come on the show. Yeah, I'd love to come on your show. And they come on the show, you have your conversation with them. They get done with the show, immediately you contact them and say, hey, Jim, thanks so much for coming on my show, man. Really enjoyed our conversation. Going to be editing the episode. I'll have some more information for you soon. That's your first follow-up. Next follow-up, you get your show edited. You cut a trailer for your show. You get a trailer cut, 30, 45-second video from a good moment of the show. Send that to them and say, hey, Jim, we're getting the podcast edited. Here's a clip that kind of previews the episode that you're going to be on. Would love for you to share this on your social media. You can use this however you want. If we could get on a call, I can kind of give you some best practices for how to best utilize this video on your socials. You got an opportunity to give them something. Then the episode's going to come out fully, right? Hey, Jim, the episode drops Monday. Make sure you let people know about it. Here's a link to it so you can share it on your socials. And then with us, as far as what we do, we're selling content creation, social media marketing, that kind of thing. So the podcast is a perfect in for us, where we can say, hey, I'd love to give you some best practices on how to post this. Hey, I looked at your social media accounts, did a quick little mini audit. I've got some tips for you guys that might be able to help you out with your visibility. So the opportunity for follow-up is there, and it's just more giving. And that pressure, it's taken off. And I guess, and with whatever kind of sales you're in, if you do have like that monthly quota, then, that's the thing is for podcasting, it works great if you've got like a high ticket item that might take a little longer to sell, because you've got that kind of thing built in with it. So that's what I would say. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's what I love about it is you've got the built-in follow-ups that you're still giving stuff. And you just kind of work in the ask when it makes sense to work in that ask. So that's what I would say works really, really well. I love that aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you answered it pretty well. It's either way, whether it's the answer or it helps get there. I am
Right.
determined in my career more than just to have my resume to say that I've been producers club at this organization and this one, and
Right.
top sales guy at this place. I want to really create some paradigm shift that puts me, maybe not for ego down in history, but to really contribute to. This is my career. This is what I do. Selling is like the best thing. It's the lifeblood of any business, unless you ask marketing people and they'll disagree. But
No, I believe that marketing and sales go hand in hand.
mhm,
I don't think you can succeed in one end without having the other. If you're
mhm.
not marketing your product, you can't sell it.
Yeah, nobody
And you
discusses
can't
it.
sell a product if you're not marketing it. So, I think, with a podcast, I feel like tell me what you're doing right now. You just started a new position, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm working with a AI automation company. They work
Okay.
for MSPs, the same thing I've been doing for
Okay.
almost years.
So it's
Yeah,
just it's still tech that you're selling. That's great.
yeah, still tech.
I would, if you were going to get a prospect on your podcast, you could do a 15-minute podcast with them.
Right,
And
right.
and then, you dig in with tell me what you do. Tell me what pains you're experiencing in your business. Ask them how they're utilizing AI. You basically treat the podcast as your discovery call.
Yeah,
And you can, like I said, 15, 20 minutes, plenty. And then again, you've got the follow-up built in, where you can hit them back up, but you're also finding out what their pain points are, gives you more follow-up so you can hit them back up and you can say, hey, Jim, thanks for coming on my podcast yesterday. You mentioned that this, and this were a problem with you. I actually have some solutions for you. I'd love to talk to you more. Can we get on another call? We won't make it for the podcast, but I can help you. So you've gotten their pain points. You know what's causing them problems. Now you can solve them for them and you can sell it. That's a way to kind of speed up that process, but
yeah,
you've also still given them something, and you got to follow through with the full episode, releasing it. Maybe it's after the sale is even already closed, but it's just relationship building, and follow-ups are
yeah.
built in with it. So that's a way you could kind of speed it up with what you're doing, is Dig in, find out their pain points. Armando's talked to you about the pastor questions, right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's
Yep.
your podcast right there. Ask
There's a
those
whole.
pastor questions, and pain, amplify, story, testimony, uh, opportunity, and I can't remember what the R is, but those are the main questions you got to ask everybody that comes on your show, and then you've got a whole bunch of information from that you can use for follow up to sell them on whatever it is that you can help them with.
Yeah, right on. Well, I only asked you for a couple of minutes today, so and I got another show that I got to do. But
All
dude, Will,
good.
so good to see you again. The haircut looks great. Another story you told me before. The beard grows back quickly.
Like,
But guys, I
the
guess before we.
goatee is the goatee is making lemons out of lemonade. My barber cut the new barber. She cut my sideburns off. I usually have a full beard. She shaved my sideburns. I left. I got in the car and I have this bald spot right here. So I had to come home and shave the rest of my beard. So I'm rocking the villain goatee.
Makes
So
for a
you know,
great story. Put her on a podcast and say, "This is how I learned not to shave."
right
Well,
on,
anyway,
brother.
so before we go, guys, this podcast has been brought to you guys by Lifecycle HQ and Brad Max Fractional Sales Consulting. We do production, training, and development for your businesses. Will, tell us how they can find you and how people might work with you real quickly.
Best way to find us, Leduc Entertainment
Hmm.
on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. LeducEntertainment.com is our website. I use Instagram more than anything else as far as social media goes. You can find me at Will David Brooks on Instagram. You can email me, will@LeducEntertainment.com. And I'm happy to talk to you about whatever you got going on with your social, podcasting, whatever you might need help with. We also do consulting, content coaching, that kind of thing. So if you're struggling with what to say and what to put on social media, talk to me. I'll help you out. I'll give you 100 pieces of content in a couple of hours that you can produce yourself and start putting out there. Easy for us to do. We do it all day, every day for every kind of the businesses. So, if you're ready to kind of up your game on social, podcasting, whatever it is, hit us up. We got you.
Awesome, awesome. Again, guys, thank Will Brooks for being here. This is episode 5 of the Frictionless Sales Podcast. We will see you next week.
All right, Jimmy.
Did it? No, that was
Nice.
perfect timing. So we got to make it happen, and I had to jump over to this meeting I got with Sean.